Are you guys dancing? You've never seen me dance before. I love this song. What is that? I can't see the emoji. Oh, it's 5 o'clock. Stop playing with me so I can concentrate. One more time because I you have not seen my dance. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. You should hear me rap. I'm just joking. I'm having some fun with some people watching me on Instagram. If you want to watch me on Instagram, you can't see me, can you? Please do so at Kids Can See Ghosts. Can you at on Instagram? And then I was going to give you my Gmail address. My brain waves are crossing. But if you want to see me live, you can go to at Kids Can See Ghosts. Can you? Some people are also on my private Instagram page as well. If you come on there, I'll let you in on that one as well. It's at Dr. Lisa 3. So DRLISA 3. And hello. Woohoo! It's happy hour with Dr. Lisa. I could not wait to talk to you all. You guys have really been talking to me, and I appreciate it. So many of you have started to reach out and tell me your stories and send me videos and, ask me a lot of questions. Other professionals are also chiming in. This thing is blowing up, and I'm so happy about it. If you want to talk to me privately, you could do that in my Gmail account, or you can hit me up on Messenger or any of the social media sites because I'm on all of them now. You can also call in on Podbean and talk to me. There have been a lot of people saying that they're going to call in, so I'm just sitting here waiting for you guys to call in. You can always talk to me anonymously. So that was a question that someone had. I am really good at keeping secrets. I don't give anyone's name out. I will never do that. People give their names out, but I don't do that. So if you want to call and talk live on the air anonymously, you could do that. I welcome all of you to talk to me, and then share your stories with the public. This is Happy Hour with Dr. Lisa, and it is raining here like cats and dogs. I think it just stopped, and so I had to comb my hair really quickly. So I'm glad some of you said it was okay because it was like because of the rain. So I girlfriend pulled it together pretty quickly. Shout out to all the new people listening. I can see who you are when I check the statistics. So, again, California, Illinois. I'm trying to figure out what all my Ohio peeps are. You guys, I'm a homegirl. I'm trying to figure out why you aren't supporting me, Ohio. Let's go. I was East Cleveland raised. So that support would be appreciated, East Cleveland. Let's get started. We are already on Blog 15. Blog 15. Hey, EC. I'm glad. Yay, East Cleveland. Thank you for supporting me to that one woman from East Cleveland. I appreciate that a lot. Very proud of where we were raised. Taught us a lot. Well, your mama went to school in East Cleveland. I know your mama. She said she was from Shaker Heights. I forget her mom was raised in East Cleveland. So I went to school with her mom. So that still counts. You still got some blood in you, girl. All right, let's get started. I was thinking about this blog, and I have to tell you, I started watching this new show. I get a lot of people telling me, hey, you should watch this, you should watch that. So most of you already know I started watching Evil earlier this year on Netflix. If you have not seen Evil, they should pay me for this advertisement of these doggone Netflix shows. But Evil is really good. Um, that one involves a psychologist on the team. So this psychologist is different because this psychologist actually does not believe in God. And that's actually interesting on this show. So when you get a chance, try to watch the show Evil. And then I just started watching this show called Lucifer on Netflix. It's really good too. And I have to tell you, for both shows, okay, first, Evil. There are some stories on that show that not only mimic my blog, but mimic some of the children that I have seen. So some of the episodes on Evil, I looked at them and I thought, my God, that reminds me of so-and-so, or it reminds me of the ability to see ghosts that child A had. There's actually one episode where I was watching it with my mouth open, and again, this is Evil, and I was looking at it thinking, that's child A. With Lucifer, I was watching it, and yeah, Lucifer is good. Let me tell you. Do you know, God, I can't remember the African American actor. Ooh, he's so good looking that I can't remember his name. But anyway, there's one scene where, if you guys watching and you remember, where he stood up and he opened up his black wings. Do you guys remember that? I instantly said, that's what Nebula's children have told me a dark angel looks like with the black wings. And I watched Lucifer like, oh my God, this is confirmation of stuff that my baby saw years ago, long before Netflix, sometimes, I'm going to date myself here, sometimes before we actually had the internet. And so I look at this going, that's exactly what they told me the dark angel looked like on top of the building. Oh my God. And this is 2021. So there are a couple of other scenes. And this scene reminded me of this blog that I'm going to tell you about. Now, I'm not going to give it away, but I'm just going to tell you a little bit. And some of you who watch Lucifer may actually remember it. There's a scene where a girl was going to jump off, a young woman, I shouldn't say girl. She was going to jump off of a building. And Lucifer is standing right next to her going, yeah, pretty much go ahead and do it. Like, you're a bad bitch. Go ahead and jump. And I watched that episode, and I'm going to stop right there for the sake of giving it away. So it looked like she wanted to jump off of a building and end her life. And I was watching that episode thinking, some of the kids that I've seen who can see ghosts talked about, because I told you there were a lot of kids I saw, and some of them, like this child in blog 15, actually tried to end their lives. And so some of the things that they would say about, wanting to end their lives is, it feels like in some cases, and some of these kids could see ghosts, like this kid in blog 15, that in some of these cases, there was like something behind them kind of telling them, go ahead and do it, right? And so when I was watching Lucifer, I was just sitting back like this thinking, oh my God, that must have been what it was like for them, because they've told me, and this is another one here in blog 15, like, it's just something there. It's just something there. And then you do it, and then it just goes away. And I said, I bet Lucifer was just whoever created the directors of this show. I'm almost positive that they've had these experiences like Nebula's children, because the me working with these kids and I see these shows, I'm telling you that it truly mimics a lot of, what I've heard these kids say. And so these kind of shows, when I watch them, they give me some type of validation for the things that the kids have told me. Because remember, these kids are now grown. So these are things that they told me when they were little kids. And here it is, sometimes 20 years later. And I'm watching this stuff going, well, yeah, all the kids talk about dark angels. Some of you talk about dark angels to me. And so here it is on this show, Lucifer, and there's a dark angel. And I said, no wonder the kids used to call them dark angels. They are dark. Now, I'm not saying they're African American. What I'm saying is they look dark to the kids. The wings are dark, and they appear dark to them. And the other thing is on the show, a lot of kids talk to me about different things like music, gospel music. These are the things that I have not written on the podcast. There's so much. I told you guys, I can talk about this stuff probably for the next 3 years because I have so much data. But one of the things that they have Lucifer doing on this show is to play music. And I was talking to my mom about that, and I said, wait a minute, if you think about biblical scriptures, they talk about, Lucifer, when he was in heaven, he was the minister of music. So it makes sense in the show that he's talented musically. And then I said, well, that's some of the stuff the kids talk to me about that I haven't even written about. So you see, in my mind, I'm going back and forth with these shows and also with the things that I'm writing, and I'm going, okay, wait a minute. This reminds me of Blog 15. So let's talk about it. So this was a time that I was working in Englewood, Illinois. So on the south side of Chicago. And I was at a mental health center, and I met a child who needed individual therapy, but also group therapy. And I wrote in the blog some of his symptoms of mental illness, which were anxiety, I believe, and depression. And this one also had a history of suicide attempts. Obviously not successes, but attempts. So I couldn't remember all the details about that, but not the suicide, but the anxiety and depression. So I didn't write about that a lot, but I wrote what I could remember. And while I'm talking to you guys, I just remember something else, how he used to walk up and down the hallway, and how he was just like the sweetest little guy. This was a boy, and how he would talk about ending his life because he was gay. Yep, because he was gay. And so let me give you a little bit of background here. Now, when I went to college, undergrad, master's degree, doctorate degree, the LGBTQ community, I was not trained in how to deal with that community. Why? Because you guys already know. I don't have to tell you this stuff. Back in the 90s, it was not as prominent as it is now as far as therapy and learning about how to treat this population of our brothers and sisters in mental health, right? What's happened over the years is that we do see an increase in these wonderful children wanting to end their lives. Why? For the same reason that this one did. I don't want to tell people for fear of being ostracized, for fear of rejection. Okay? So this was a kid who fully disclosed to me and another psychologist that he was gay, but didn't want to live multiple times because of it. And so when you have a child that comes under your care, if you are a therapist or you're a someone who works with children, speech language pathologists, occupational therapists. I can name a lot of you, pediatrician. You know, you don't want to make these kids feel as if something is wrong with them. And that's what this one felt. Every time he would tell someone, someone would reject him or tease him or call him horrible names because he's gay, or he was gay. He's a grown man now. So what we did with this one is that we put him in individual therapy with someone, and then we put him in group therapy. Now, before we get into that, let me tell you how this one tried to end his life multiple times with multiple hospitalizations. Okay. This one would run in front of a bus. I can still see it when it happened in front of me. He would run in front of a bus. Now, he never passed away from this. So what does that tell you? The same thing I used to tell him, that it's not meant for him to pass away. Because every time he would run in front of a bus, he would survive. Okay. Obviously, he would have to go to the hospital. Why? Because he attempted to end his life. So this was a child who was heavily teased in school. The stereotypical mannerisms that he displayed, those things were teased. He was hurt, so people would fight him. Okay. Now, again, this was a rough part of, his school district was pretty rough. So you had some kids there who had no problem, being physically aggressive. That's not all kids, obviously, but the ones that would interact with him, that's what they would do to him. So they call him foul names. I'm not going to repeat that stuff because I don't believe in calling people. Amen. It's a miracle that he survived. Now, here's a big one. His family disapproved his lifestyle. They had disapproved of it. Sorry. And so this was a kid who was just tired. But we worked on it, and we worked pretty hard. And what I found was that this kid, I don't even know if I went into detail on the blog. One of the things that I don't do, I can look and see what I talked about in the blog, and I know the stories, so I don't necessarily go through them on the podcast and just talk about them from what I've written. So you guys might know if you're looking at the blog. I don't know how deep I went into this. This was a sad child. This was a child who had, a major depressive disorder. Okay, it's a mood disorder. Mood is the umbrella term. That's what I call it. Underneath the top of the umbrella, you have different types of mood disorders. We're talking about one, which is major depression. This was an older child. He had major depression. Very sad, very sweet, but very sad. And so he attempted to end his life so many times that it made me anxious, because who wants to have, this was where I think my oldest daughter was a little girl. I was going to say this is before I was a mom, but you don't have to be a mom to love these kids like this. And so anybody would just kind of want to hold this kid and say, hey, whoa, stop. We could do something about this. Life is going to get better for you. Okay. So he seemed to thrive in the group sessions. He seemed to enjoy it. We kept him in group. But here's the problem, right? And some of you that work with kids know this, especially if you're in the schools. You take these kids and you work with them, and then they go back home. So when he would go back home, he would go back to the teasing, the rejection from the family, and all that. Well, a kid's brain is not even fully developed till for boys, 21. Girls, it's about the same. And I'm not talking about your whole brain, I'm talking about your frontal lobes here, where we have our executive function. Our higher thinking is in the front of the brain. So a kid like this doesn't even have a mental capacity or even the abstract reasoning, at 13, 14 years old, to figure out what to do when life is just rejecting him, but to die. And the whole time I'm thinking, but this is just so easy. You're just gay. I'm just not gay, right? But back then, and sometimes now, society doesn't see it as being that easy because everyone cares about what everybody else is doing with their bodies, which I still don't understand because I'm going to tell you, I don't care what you do to your body. Okay? That's your body. Make your own decisions. This is not a decision or a choice. He was born that way, right? And so he couldn't help it. And he can't understand why everybody's rejecting him. And honestly, I couldn't either. But we worked on it. And so I'm pretty sure I didn't write this in the blog either. So we started to I started to talk to him more. And I didn't really know as much as I know now about nebulous children. Remember, I call children that can see ghosts nebulous children. And you can read about why in my earlier blogs. But I didn't know a lot about it back then, but this kid talked about it a lot. And one of the things was no one believes me. Um, Not only that, he could see ghosts, but just no one believed him. No one stood by him. No one believed that he was gay. As a matter of fact, I remember, him saying that people wanted to slap the gay out of him. Horrible things like that. So, we put him in both, group and individual therapy. Now, why do we do that? And why was he not in individual therapy with me? And it's because I had him in group therapy. When you work with clients and they go to group therapy, it's not a good idea for them to also do individual therapy with you as the group leader. And why is that? All of you therapists probably know this. It's because they wind up telling you everything in individual therapy, and then they keep their mouths closed in group therapy. And that's not what group therapy is designed to do. So it's better for you to get an outside person to do individual therapy with this person, and then you keep them in group. And that's why. And so when he was in group therapy, he was very talkative. Now, back then we were doing suicide contracts. They may still do that. I'm not sure because to me, it holds a person accountable, but really it's just a piece of paper. You can make it meaningful, but in my opinion, you need to do more than that to try to save your clients' lives. And that's what we did. So we had him in individual, we had him in group, we had him in, school social worker, school counselor. We had everything on board. And he was on medication too, because, sometimes there comes a time when your clients may have to get on medication to stabilize them. Obviously, he wasn't stable, right? Okay, so we had to do something with a psychiatrist to get him evaluated and get him on the right medication. The good news is that we had a psychiatrist on staff. So, that helped. All righty. So I had no idea, no clue. This was the first time this happened to me in my career. No clue that this child was going to try to end his life again. So this is what happened. And I still remember it. That's why I got quiet. We in group therapy. There was always a bus, don't quote me, that came down 61st, I believe. I haven't lived in Chicago in a long time, so I get confused on the south side now, unless the numbers are going south, which means on the grid they go larger. I think I was on 63rd. But anyway, there was a bus that came down our street, and what do you think happened after group therapy? Yep. And I saw it. I saw it. So let's sum it up. We have a child who had multiple suicide attempts. The best predictor of future suicide is a past one. Had all the services in place. Because this was a gay male child who had a history of wanting to end his life multiple times. Put him in group therapy, put him in individual therapy, did everything we could. And sometimes, you know, that's all you can do. Sometimes that's all you can do is do the best you can. And that's what we did. And it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. And this was one who would mention things like it's standing next to me and it's whispering in my ear. And okay, I'll give you an example. Season 4, maybe, of Lucifer. There's a character that protects Lucifer. A lower demon is what I call it. Maze is her name. And in one scene, Mace, I think it's Mace, is going after the female cop. In that one scene, typically Mace is this really beautiful demon, right? And sidebar, they envision them, they appear like that to kids. They will appear beautiful. They will appear any kind of way. Mace King, that's right, thank you. They will appear any kind of way to manipulate a kid and also adults, right? So Mace is she's really gorgeous. I don't know her name, but anyway, in one scene, the female cop is sitting in the chair. You guys remember? And Mace is like going over her. It's creepy. Mace is going over her. And then the camera changes and she looks like a demon. Dark, terrible, black hoodie. And I was like, that's exactly what the kids say they do. This is what this kid said would happen. Right? So picture it. Every time this kid feels sad, something is there saying, go ahead and do it. You know, go ahead and do it. Die. You know, jump in front of the bus. Do this. Do that. But it's a demon, right? This stuff is real. And it's real to kids. And so at that moment, when I think back to watching this kid run toward the bus, I remember before that incident, him telling me, like you saw with Maze in that scene, that it's something there. And it also makes me think of other mental health impairments as well. So, but the biggest factor, the other, not that there isn't a small thing, but the other biggest factor with these kind of kids, I always say, believe them. Our jobs is to make our clients feel as if we believe them. So this was not a kid that I was going to say, you know, hey, this is stupid. You know, I don't believe you. This is fictitious or fake, or you're making it up. You don't make them feel that way, because the one thing that's always been consistent with these babies is what? No one believes me. And if no one believes them, then you end up getting into situations like this child. When I thought about Pride Month and how I wanted to celebrate it, even privately, and how I want to, you know, share with the public Pride Month, but also, you know, combine it with Nebula's children, this child comes to mind. I actually use this case when I teach abnormal psychology, when I talk about major depression, because that's what we're dealing with here, along with this child being gay and seeing ghosts. Back then, I was too inexperienced to dive into the the fact that this kid can see ghosts. And after he attempted to end his life again, I didn't see him anymore. He didn't come back. So I'm not sure what happened to him. So what I tried to do was to turn that situation into advice for parents. Let's give some parents some advice, you know. And for other, professionals, if you have not encountered, a gay child, which I highly doubt in 2021, but it could be the case. Or if you encounter a child who can see ghosts, you guys have been asking for advice. I'm going to give you some. I just helped somebody else Monday who texted me about a kid they're working with who's talking about they can see ghosts. Okay. So this is what I do. Listen to them. It's really easy to listen to your kids or to listen to your clients, whether you believe them or not. It doesn't matter. You know what's my pet peeve? When people will say publicly, what do I do? I see a ghost. It is creepy. It is this. There are some people, especially kids. Now, kids, what did our grandmothers used to say? Tell the truth, shame the devil, right? Kids will tell you everything. If you don't believe that, you need to ask me that again, because I know a lot of people's business based upon what their kids told me. Boob jobs, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, my mom had a boob job. So kids will tell you, and kids are typically unfiltered, especially the little ones. So if they tell you they see a ghost, it doesn't matter if you believe them. More than likely they do. So be open to their thoughts. Remove your biases. That is an ethical principle. If you are in social services or at least psychology, you need to work with people minus your biases. It will prevent you from working effectively with children. Okay? If for parents, a lot of parents, when it comes down to gay children, let's keep it real. They envision their kids differently, right? They envision their kids, some parents being angry. I'm sorry. See, I have angry on the brain. I'm not even talking about anger. I deal with a lot of angry kids, so it's no wonder how my brain could just go to angry. Some parents envision their kids differently. They don't envision them gay. They don't envision them with the same sex for the rest of their lives. They envision them the traditional American way. White picket fence, right? And children, and being married for years in a White House with a white picket fence with an SUV and a good job for 40 years, right? When they get a child that is gay, it just changes the trajectory of what they believe their kids should do. And that causes anxiety, right? In the parents, and it causes it sometimes to be reflected onto the children, or they transfer that anxiety onto the children. So, parents, you know what? We get mad at parents sometimes, but you got to be understanding that in these cases, parents have to grieve. They have to grieve for the loss that they think they feel, right? Over their kids being a part of the LGBTQ community. But after you grieve, you still have to go back and talk to your kids in a positive manner. I can't tell you how many parents who go through that grieving process and then they go back and they're not okay with their kids anymore. I can't tell you how many times I said, love is love. These are your children. They didn't ask to come into the world. How dare you reject your kids because they're gay? My God, what is wrong with people? What is wrong with people doing that? You don't reject your kids. Calm your emotions. Give your kids a safe place to talk to you about what's happening. You think it's a choice? They say it's not. How about listening to your kids and stop judging them? That is my pet peeve, because then you get a bunch of kids like this one who wind up having concerns with mental health when it didn't have to be that way. Sometimes mental health is not biological. Mothers have the umbilical cord to their children's world. You can break that umbilical cord or you can nurture it. If you nurture it, then you put their needs before you. Those who break that cord end up doing this to their kids. And I'm preaching about it because I get tired of seeing it. I get tired of seeing these kids feeling rejected, not just by society, but damn it, they can't even go home and get love from their parents just because they're gay. So they want to end their lives. I knew someone last year whose son was telling people at school that he wanted to end his life. And she heard about it from someone else. Now imagine being a parent and learning from someone else that your child is going around telling people that he or she wants to die, wants to end their lives, and was probably going to do it. Holy cow, I'd be a nutcase, right? And he got home from school and she's like, "What? Why would you want to die? What's the matter?" And he said, "Well, I may as well tell you I'm gay." And she's like, "Oh, shoot, that's it? That's it? Oh, it's no big deal. Let's deal with it." Let me tell you what she did, because she's smart. Got him all the services that he needed in school, because nowadays schools offer it. Love him through it all until he felt better. Supported him. This is not a kid who can see ghosts, just so you know. And did exactly what a mother should do, and her child is successful. Successful mentally, is still alive. And I can't tell you anymore because I have a special place for this person, and it would give them away. And this person is on all of my social media pages. When I found out, I was just like, oh crap. Does this kid realize what we do for a living? We don't end our lives when we got people around our lives to help. This is easy. You just like other boys. It's that simple. That's your life. That's who you are. Live it. Live it. And let your kids live their own lives. Support them. Okay? Lord have mercy. It makes me so mad to hear. It's because I think back to this one, and this one didn't have to try to kill himself over and over again if somebody had just said, I love you. I love you. And I just don't care. I love you, right? But no one did. No one did. What I hope is that that child who is grown now is still alive and living life, living his best life, hello, and was not successful at ending his life. When I work with kids who see no way out but death, because mind you, these negative or dark angels, dark spirits, they scare kids. Sometimes they come in the form of they are these kids' friends, but they're not. Sometimes they just don't give a damn, and they just come as wicked demons, right? Scaring the crap out of our kids. But when they do that, sometimes they lead these kids down very dark roads, and death is one of them, or wanting to end their lives, right? And so what I often remind these kids of is how much society needs them. And I did this with this kid. I also did it with another college student. years later, and it didn't work because she ended her life too. So I've often questioned different contributions, and I am actually taking this. I logged into my page now, and I'm taking this from my website. So I asked them what kind of gifts they can give to the rest of us, because these children are, it's a blessing that they even came into my life, you know? And so how ending their lives is going to hurt themselves and hurt their family. You know, if you ever talk to someone who attempted to end their lives, especially adults, a lot of them will tell you it was scary. I shouldn't have done it. I survived. Some of them won't do it again because it was such a wake up call. Others, like this kid, might try again. Um, and find a safe person to talk to. It's the same thing with nebulous kids. They really need someone to talk to. And I'm so glad there are a couple of mothers on live that I know are very safe people for their kids to talk to about seeing ghosts, not rejecting them. It's really important because these ghosts mess with these kids like they did with this little one who kept trying to end his lives. It is constant, especially when they don't know how to control it. It's constant. Imagine if you opened your eyes in the morning and all you saw was a spirit walking across the room or talking to you, or it's like 3 or 4 in the room, or like some of the kids I've worked with, there's a room full of little ghost spirits around them, just waiting for them to go to school and getting dressed and trying to get them to do a lot of things that they're not supposed to do. So I, over the years, have had to transfer my thoughts into, how would this make me feel if I can see ghosts like this? What would I do? Or if I felt this sad in the case of this child, that I'm talking about for Pride Month, how would this make me feel? Well, it's tragic. I know there are some people out there who go, yay, I see ghosts, and I talk to them and I invite them all in and we just have a party. Hey, honey, let me see, how old are you? 100? Oh, yeah, you look like a demon today. Oh, just come talk to me. It's just okay. That's just foolish. That's just foolish. I know there have been kids don't know any better. They'll just sit and talk to all these things because they tell them they are their friends and supportive. Someone texts me. And that's exactly what this child was doing with this particular therapist. Yes, this is my friend. This is my friend. That's what the kids will say because they pose as their friends. Let me tell you something. When you start talking about God, or if you tell this kid, hey, let's get a Bible, or you put the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit in that room, you watch what happens to these little friendly ghosts. They aren't so friendly. They don't like it. They run away from God. They run away from the Bible. They don't want to be they don't want to have anything to do with the Bible. They talk about us. Do you know how many times I've been talked about by these demons to these kids? I probably wrote about some of it, but not all of it. She can't help you. That's what this person heard. Get away from her. That's what this person heard. I don't like talking about God. That's what this person heard. I don't like sage. That's what this person heard. Now, I've never used sage before, but I know people have done that, and it's supposed to be very helpful in warding off, different spirits. And so it's it's the same pattern. And I read some of the stuff that you guys send, and I go, yep. I'll just check it off. Yep. Get the Bible. Yep. They run away. Talk about God. Yep, they run away. Talk about, get the kids talking about God and prayer. Yep, they run away. all of that stuff. Same thing, same pattern over and over and over again. And this is why we have to start believing, these children who have these encounters. It's also, I need to talk about this on the blog. So I'm going to write it down. It's also easy to tell when the kids are lying too. I think I'm going to write a blog about when kids lie about seeing ghosts. So now I think that should be a blog entry. So I'm not going to tell you now. But it is easy to know when kids are lying about this too. And it's how you work with them and how you do it to let them know that they're not being truthful. Because kids have imaginations, but you can discern when it's real and when it's not. And it's not that hard. I'll tell you how to do it in the blog. So this little guy was tragic. He was back then, and he probably still is if he's alive, a gay teen who tried to end his life. Pride Month is very meaningful to me, and we should celebrate it. And we should celebrate it not just because we have a group of individuals in our society who identify as LGBTQI. I can go on with the acronyms. I'm getting pretty good with it. But they are also our American brothers and sisters, and we need to embrace it. And so during Pride Month, I like to do a lot of different things that I can to celebrate it. Now, when these type of children come under my care, I definitely am probably a lot softer, and they don't need that, because when you are a minority, which I am, and then they sometimes feel as if they're minorities too, there's a certain equalness or feeling where you can relate to the struggles. And so I take this seriously. We hear about all kinds of, cases where they have been assaulted and hurt and discriminated against. Those are the kinds of things that, African Americans go through in our country, and although it's gotten better, it hasn't ended. So I try to take a strong stance during African American History Month and also Pride Month to celebrate these accomplishments, because if you haven't had the struggle, you may not understand. I do. So I'm going to end the blog with this. Sometimes children become apprehensive, very apprehensive to tell us things because they fear a negative reaction from us. And not just us, society. So when society does, give a negative reaction, and so do the adults who are supposed to love and care about them, we still always have to remember that these kids are developing. And we are the ones to teach them about their emotions. And sometimes these emotions overflow to the point where they become mental health issues. So we shouldn't disregard their feelings because of their ages. You know how you might get a little 3 or 4 year old doing this, saying, they can see ghosts? I guarantee you they do. They do. That little. You know how some people will say when you have a baby that the babies are looking at angels? They do. They're the closest little things who just left God. So they do. Why they grow up sometimes and don't continue to see, I don't know. I don't have all the answers. But sometimes they become very protective and guarded of themselves to a point of hurting themselves. And that's what this little boy did. Okay? Became very guarded. He was gay. He could see ghosts. Wanted to end his lives. Okay? So I hear about how some of these quote unquote things are coined as abnormal by religious folks. So I'm going to get on my soapbox again. Because God is love, and he loves all of us. God does not say, I only love certain people. So I'm only going to love you and you and you. But I'm not going to love her because she's black. Or I'm not going to love him because he's gay. Or I'm not going to love who? The rest of them because they look different. There are some people who use religion to hide about it behind their hate. And this also happens to kids who can see ghosts. I look at Quora, for example. I look at social media. When there is somebody asking a question about seeing spirits, there are so many people who respond hatefully to that person. And I look at this stuff and I go, why are people so hateful? Exactly. God loves us all unconditionally. He loves us all unconditionally. So why is everybody hiding behind religion and hate? Religion justifies the hate. I don't get it. You don't get to do that. You can't say that you love God, but then I'm not going to love you because you're gay. Or I love God, but I'm not going to love you because you're not white enough. Or I don't love you just because I'm jealous of you. You don't get to do that. We are not God. We don't get to make God's decisions. When we go to heaven, all of you who are making God's decisions, I don't know where you got blessed with that because I can't do that, right? So I just want you to give me that kind of blessing so I can make those kind of decisions here on earth. Because I think if I'm God, life would be easier here on earth and it'd be easier for my family. So where do you get that kind of ability? Let me know, because that's probably a stronger ability than seeing ghosts. And so I want that kind of ability too. Okay, so I'm jealous. So since you reign supreme over God, then I guess you do make the judgment call. Because you know what I get sick of? People judging people. Don't you guys get yes, honey, give me God's number if you have it. Although all we have to do is pray, but give me God's number. So I must stop playing. I'm serious, but I'm joking too. Listen, suicide is serious. Kids seeing ghosts is serious. Sometimes that ability leads them down dark paths. Everything is not always rosy when it comes down to the ability that nebulous children have, even if we consider it as a gift. Somebody said the number is 777-777-777. All right, I will use it if you think that's the number to call God, because I want him to give me that kind of ability to judge folks. Okay, so these conditions are serious. I call the ability to see ghosts fun, but it's also a condition because I've seen it go down dark paths more than I have seen it go down good paths. Okay, now that's right. Somebody wanted me to say this, and I will. Suicide Prevention Month is in September. Okay. It's a serious issue, and I'm going to bring it up again in another blog because I have another student to talk about. I lost another student to suicide years after this one. It's a serious issue in our country, across the world, in particular for children and adolescents, because that's the population that I work with. Remember, you do not have to end your life. There is help available. You can speak to someone today. I wrote the suicide hotline on my website. It's 1-800-273-8255. Okay? We will continue our conversations next week. You guys make me laugh, and I'm trying to be serious on my blog. Now, before we go, I'm going to give you a disclaimer. Blog 16 starts some scary blogs. Well, heck, if you're going to be scared, just imagine how I felt. Okay? Scary. All the way through Halloween, these are the blogs that are going to come up. Ooh, that's good. That's right on time for Halloween, isn't it, guys? So, if you are nervous, like I'll just tell you, my husband, he tried to listen to me a couple times and he's like, that's too much for me. I can't do it, right? His imagination just kind of goes wild with ghosts, okay? So I want to give you that disclaimer. Blog 16 for a couple of blogs after that gets a little scary. So if you're kind of nervous about talking about parapsychology, make sure you read the blog, see if you can handle it. And if you can, then join me next week and then we can talk about them. And there's let me look real quick. I logged in, so let me look. It is, the following week. Blog 17 is scary. It was scary to me when it happens. That's Child E. So in 2 weeks, I'm going to introduce Child E to you, and that one gets scary. That's also when I can start talking about my own paranormal experiences as well. So thank you so much for joining me. Hey, you guys, when you get a chance, let me know how you feel. Talk to me about these blogs. Let's see. Has it been an hour yet? It's only been 30 minutes. Is that right? No, it's been an hour. Okay. My time is off here. Okay. So I will talk to you guys next week. Until then, you all have a very good week. Thanks for joining me. Bye bye.